Today I wanted to see if I could help somebody else who had the same problem as me, and that is that the navigation light on the top of my mast, this is the mast plate of my lovely Dufour 32, and it looks like a normal navigation light with the green and red, and it's got the anchoring light underneath. It's made by Heller out of Germany. This one's probably about 20 years old, probably as old as the boat. There are really only two manufacturers, and for this particular light it's quite expensive. The replacement cost is about 140 euro here in Sweden. So I really didn't want to have to replace it. Now what happened was, when we were taking the mast down, well, it was my fault. I was holding this end of the mast and I put a little bit too much pressure on. Should have removed it before removing the mast, but I wasn't really fully aware of how it worked. Anyway, suffice it to say, it broke. You can see that if I show you it pulled apart, you can see that the base of the plastic cover fits in nicely with some lugs into the base plate. There's nothing wrong with the electronics, nothing wrong with the light itself. The bulbs are fine, and you can see when you pull it apart that the top section also undoes, so you can replace the top bulb. I mean, you knew all this probably. I wasn't aware that it was a complete modular unit. So there's nothing wrong with the top section, nothing wrong with the light, the electrical. The only problem is that it refuses to hold itself down. So I did a little bit of thinking about this and was thinking of gluing it and all sorts of possibilities. And I worked out that in fact, if I remove the top set, I want to be able to remove it at a later point to be able to change bulbs if that's required, or fix any wiring if that's required, or indeed if I break it again. So what I did work out was that the base of this unit is screwed, the base of the light is screwed through into the top mast plate. And I'm lucky on my boat you can take the whole top mast plate off, which makes life a lot easier. I'll probably do that next season before I remove the mast. It's an easy enough thing to do. The first problem I had was that the wiring into the mast came directly through into the wiring from the mast came directly through into the light fitting itself, with spade clips that cannot fit through that hole. So the first thing I did was modified it, so I put in some shorter wiring that goes to spade clips here, so that I can disconnect and reconnect it at the mast without having to pull the whole thing apart and potentially damage the internal wiring. Because some of the clips inside here that hold the bulbs down themselves got damaged, and I had to make up some new bits for that. But if yours aren't damaged, that's fine. If the only problem you have is the same as mine, broken plastic here, and I don't even have the plastic bits to be able to replace it. If that's your problem, then there was a fairly easy solution. Now, I was lucky enough that one of my lugs, the big one on this corner here, is in place, and I'm able to actually get the light, right, correctly align it. I'm able to get the light, I correctly align it with that lug on the large point there. There we are. So if I pop it in, I'm able to actually close it, but it doesn't stay down. You can see that there's a lift there. So what I did was I bored a hole through the top of the light fitting, and fortunately there is already a screw hole, one of the 3 screw holes for mounting the light fitting onto the base plate, and there was already a hole on the base plate for that. I then made up a piece of rod. Effectively, I've made a long screw. On one end I've put a nice what we call a blind nut, a round-headed nut, to give it some as the top section, because that won't be opened. And on the other end, I've put a normal nut with a nylock washer on it. You can see the nylock washer there. So the aim of this exercise is to actually pin the entire unit down from the top through the base and pin it down completely. So if I insert the rod from the bottom, it doesn't matter which way I go, I'll insert it from the bottom in this case because it's easier. I can see at the top. Maybe I'll insert it from the other way in a minute. Alright, I'll insert it from the top, doesn't matter. Either way, inserting the rod, you can see the rod comes down through to the underneath. I insert the blind nut. A little bit of luck, that'll just screw on. Now, I could have used M4 threaded rod, stainless steel, but I didn't have any. On hand, and I did have a nice piece of fairly thick steel, which I was able to then cut threads on both ends. But it could have been more easily done. That took the most time in this exercise. Once I've got that threaded through there, you can see it's bound both ends, and it's quite solid and not lifting anymore. And then it's as simple as replacing the top cap as normal. And we have a perfectly working unit again. This time actually held more strongly because it's pinned all the way from the top unit to the bottom. I don't need to worry about waterproofing, that's all included in there. If it gets rusty, I might paint it up a little bit more. But at this point, that's a complete fix. And as you can see, I've got now spade terminals on the base. So every year I will disconnect my little wind vane, the entire top unit, unplug this and take it all off before I take my 12-meter mast down, and have less trouble in future. All right, hopefully that's been of some help if you have broken your top light and don't have a lazy €140 to buy a new one. Okay, bye.